Ham's third son, Put, founded Libya according to Josephus and called the inhabitants Puti after himself. They supplied mercenaries to Egypt and warred alongside Lubim, Mizraim, and Cushites, where the Putites were unable to save Thebes from Assyrian attack. None of Put's children are named in biblical history, but in addition to the Libyans, some of his descendants may have pushed out as far as Mauritania, where even at the time of Jerome, who lived around 400 AD, a nearby river still bore the name of Put.
From Noah's grandson, Canaan, came a number of descendants who made a historical mark, among them Sidon and Heth, followed by Jebusites, Amorites, Girgasites, Hivites, Archites, Sinites, Arvadites, Zemarites, and the Hamathites.
Sidon is perpetuated today in the name of a modern city. It was he who built a city of the same name in Phoenicia, still also by the Greeks called Sidon. In Josephus' words, Sidonians or Sidonum were known to the Assyrians generally as Phoenicians. Hiram II on a votive inscription called himself Melech Sidonum, meaning king of the Sidonians. In discussing Antony and Cleopatra, Josephus remarked, "Thus he gave her the cities that were within the river Eleutherius, as far as Egypt, excepting Tyre and Sidon, which he knew to have been free cities from their ancestors."
From Canaan's son, Heth, comes the name Hittite, known as the Kati to the Assyrians. Originally, in the central Anatolia, there lived an ancient people who spoke a non-Indo-European language called Hattic, or Proto-Hittite. This original language is known only by way of personal and geographical names recorded in Old Assyrian texts.
Curiously, Hittite cuneiform writings were in yet another language, an Indo-European language of the Centum group. This was spoken only in the capital of the empire around Hattusis, today modern Bagazgoy, in Turkey. Although it was the official language used for recording laws, treaties, and official proclamations. The term Hittite can have at least three different applications. The Aboriginal Hattians, with their own unique language, are called Hittites, as were the so-called cuneiform Hittites, or Nessians, who lived near the capital and spoke a non-Semitic Indo-European language, and wrote in a cuneiform style borrowed from the Mesopotamians. And there were what is called hieroglyphic Hittites, who lived in the southern parts of the empire, using another Indo-European language preserved in their own style of hieroglyphics. When Hebrews and Assyrians spoke of Hittites generally, they referred to all the inhabitants of that area, plus their dependencies, regardless of language spoken or ethnic origins. Today, the word Hittite is derived from its Semitic root as a catch-all, including everyone from that region, regardless of whether they did or did not descend from Heth.
The Amorites descended from Amor, residing in the land of Canaan, known as Amuru in Akkadian. The ancient city of Mari was excavated by the French, giving us a clearer picture of the earlier history of the Amorites who spoke a Canaanite dialect. Amorites remained closely associated with the Canaanites and ranged from the mountains of Judah and beyond the Jordan River in the times of Moses.
Canaanites took the southeastern shore of the Mediterranean Sea. 14th century BC Amarna letters used Canaan to describe the kings of Babylon and for Egypt's Syro-Palestinian territories. In 1977, the Canaanite city of Ebla was brought to light at Tel Mardik in Syria. Dating to the Chalcolithic period, Ebla was a major trading partner with Mari and Uruk. Clay tablets excavated from Ebla revealed a cuneiform style of writing, similar to that found at Shuruppak and Abu Sabalik. dating to the same period. From everything we know about the turbulent years of conflict between the Israelites and Canaanites, and judging from the areas dedicated to the descendants of Ham, the Promised Land, the land of milk and honey, was not the designated territory they were assigned. The curse upon Canaan spoken by Noah was played out in fact.
Jubilees states, "And thus the sons of Noah divided unto their sons in the presence of Noah their father, and he bound them all by an oath, imprecating a curse on every one that sought to seize the portion which had not fallen to him by his lot."
And that curse upon Canaan derived not only from Ham seeing his father Noah naked in his tent in Genesis 9:22-23, but also from occupying the land dedicated to the descendants of Shem. The curse eventually consumed the entire Canaanite civilization within the next 2,000 years.
In contrast to the migrations of the Japhethites, who actually crossed a body of water, and Hamites, some of whom migrated to northern Africa, the Semites were veritable homebodies.
Genesis 10:21-25, Shem is the father of all the children of Eber due to the two tribes Peleg and Joktan. Jubilees says, "The division of the earth took place toward the end of the life of Peleg, the name given to him by his father Eber, who, being a prophet, knew that the division would take place in the time of his son." Peleg's name means to divide, and was so named because in his days was the earth or land divided. So walking papers were issued to the various tribes, and off they went according to plan.
From Joktan sprang Arabian tribes. Some Arabs, even today, trace their lineage to Joktan, differentiating themselves from those Arabs who derived from Abraham's first son, Ishmael. In Arab literature, Joktan is described as the ancestor of several South Arabian tribes. Elam, Asher, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram are also the children of Shem.
Elam refers to a people, Elamaeans, concentrated around Susa initially, the ancient capital. Elamites are encountered first as Persians speaking a non-Semitic language. Scholars place Elam at the head of this Persian culture, although how he achieved kingship status remains obscure. The Elamites were a parallel civilization to the Sumerians located just east on the Persian plateau. Eventually they would join the Gutians in devastating Sumer about the time of Abraham.
Occasionally, bad translations can make a big difference. Genesis 10:11 in the King James Version reads, "Out of that land went forth Asher, and builded Nineveh, and the city of Rehoboth, and Calah." Although the NIV, ASV, and RSV all state, "Out of that land he," referring to Nimrod, "went forth into Assyria, and builded Nineveh, and Rehoboth, and Calah."
Although the Hebrew can be interpreted either way, there is an instance where there is no substitute for scholarship and common sense. Nineveh was home to the Assyrians, who take their name from Asher. Numerous Assyrian kings were named in honor of Asher, such as Puzar-Asher, Ashur-nazir-pal, the first and second, Ashurbanipal, and so forth. Asher began the Assyrian Empire in the northeast corner of Upper Mesopotamia, where the Tigris runs from northwest to southeast. Here mounds of ruins can still be found today along both banks of the river. A mosque at Mosul, blown up recently by the ISIS regime, was said to contain the remains of the prophet Jonah, and Nebi Yonus is a prominent southern mound. Another significant mound is Tel Atuba, meaning the Mound of Repentance, where natives say the contrite Ninevites put on sackcloth and ashes to turn away the wrath of God.
The Cambridge Ancient History adds this: the knowledge about some of the cities buried under these mounds was never lost. That the mound of Nimrod on the east bank, close to the point where the greater Zab flows into the Tigris, was the town of Kalak, mentioned in Genesis 10:11, was told by the natives to a British representative of the East India Company who explored the site in 1820. They even knew that the country to which this town had once belonged was named Al-Ashur, or of Ashur.